Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better. And the Bugatti, oh, bellissimo, veloce, nothing like it. Hope you enjoy the show.
Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Past the Wire TV. Today, I am fortunate to be joined by a very interesting person in thoroughbred racing, and probably a very interesting person overall, Michael Iavarone. Probably his claim to fame in horse racing, and he's got a lot of accolades in the game, was Big Brown, but there are many others. We'll talk about a couple of them. Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you've been busy, and it's been tough to schedule this. Appreciate your time, guy.
Oh, glad to be here. You know, the markets have been a nightmare, so the backdrop of this economy is scary, but I found some time to make this work because it's going to be a lot of fun.
I appreciate that, and I'll try and keep it moving fast. I have a tendency to ramble, so you can tell me shut up anytime. Let's move on. I'm glad you brought up the market because I know your background is in the market. At the end of the day, okay, you've been very successful in the market. You've been super successful in racing. What would you want to be remembered as at the end of the day? God forbid, many, many years down the road from now, Michael Iavarone, horse racing or market guru? Which is it?
Well, actually, it's neither. And I'll tell you what it really is. So people see me, they see the sunglasses, they see the suits, they see the women, and they have this vision that I'm a cowboy, a playboy, this lunatic guy.
Right.
And I don't want to be remembered for the money. I don't want to be remembered for the glory. I want to be remembered for what's inside of me. And that's the one thing that people don't understand. And I do my best to try to have the most fun in my life, but bring everybody else into the fun.
Right.
So what I want to be remembered for as the guy that lived every second of his life the best way he could, but shared his happiness and success with everybody else. And that's the one thing I want to be remembered for. Everything else is just gravy.
I appreciate that, and that's a really that's a very healthy, warming philosophy. I like it. I like that. Now, I always say about horse racing, okay, two things it always brings: the highest highs and the lowest lows. I think you experienced both by winning the Kentucky Derby with Big Brown, winning the Preakness, and then not winning the Belmont, and being that guy that broke that long Triple Crown drought that we had, when it certainly looked like. And the more I was reflecting on the race the other day and thinking about the horses that were in it, and it's just, I mean, he was just so much better than everybody in that field that it's a shame it just wasn't meant to be. But take me through that emotional roller coaster of the highest high. You won the Derby with a horse you purchased, and then it looked like the Triple Crown was all but in the bag and just didn't work out. Highest highs, lowest lows. Take me through that part of the sport.
When you buy racehorses, your hope, your dream is to get to a big race. Everybody wants to get to the Kentucky Derby naturally, but when you buy racehorses, you always think that that is virtually impossible, right? You have 20 horses in that starting gate out of 20,000 as far as the equine annual pool there and about. And you look from A to Z, what has to happen to get there. And you say, it's a pipe dream. But then you get a horse like Big Brown and you say, you know what? Why can't it be us too?
Right.
Then all of a sudden, not only do you have a horse for the Derby, you have a horse that probably is the most recognized horse in the Derby, is the excitement that's driving that particular Derby. And now it moves from complete disbelief to pressure. It almost was like, I can't wait for it to happen, and I can't wait for it to be over, because
Right.
their expectations for this horse are so sky high that if he doesn't win, the disappointment's going to be monumental. So then you get to the Derby, and everything that leads up to the Derby helps you because it distracts you, takes your mind off the pressure, and then you win. And what I'll remember so vividly is you win the race, you get whisked for the press conference, the trophy, you go through that whole rigmarole, you're doing the media. And then it was about 10:30 that evening. I was still at Churchill, and I went to the bathroom. The track had pretty much, closed out. There was a handful of people that I'd gone to the bathroom. There was nobody in the men's room. And I turned to myself. I said, what the F just happened?
Right.
All of a sudden reality just hit me right in the face, because everything was almost like you were in a car accident. You were in shock. And then
Right.
reality hits you and you say, holy shit, I just won the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
And now it's just euphoria just overtakes your body. And now you're saying, now I got 2 weeks. I'm going to enjoy the 2 weeks, but now it starts over again. And the 2 weeks leading up to the Preakness was much, much more pressure, because now you knew he was 1-9 in the Preakness, and the trainer was saying, I don't like to run horses on 2 weeks. And, what happens if you lose? And then you win that.
Right.
And now you're saying the horse is invincible. He won the Preakness. He won by like 5. He could have won by 50. You wrapped up at the, at the top of the stretch. He was looking between his legs, all that insanity.
Right.
And now you're saying, I would be super, super shocked if he didn't bring this home, because who in this group is going to beat a horse that won from post 20? Is going to beat a horse that just won the Preakness, like he was beating up on $5,000 claimers? Who's going to beat him? And they're talking about this Japanese horse and the horse that won the Peter Pan, Casino Drive. And so
Right.
now we're worried about him, and we're researching him, and what kind of style does he have, and how are we going to offset that? And then he comes up scratched. And
Right.
now it's saying, this is a cakewalk,
Right.
until I get a phone call the morning of the Belmont. It was Rick Dutrow. And he says, Mike, he goes, when we win, I don't want you to walk the horse in from the way they ordinarily do it, because I feel like the horse is going to be crowded on both sides by people, and I don't want him rearing up. I don't want him hurting himself. So we're going to bring him in traditionally. So just expect not to go. I'm saying, what are you saying to me right now? I don't even want to hear this. That is
Right.
the number one jinx in all of sports.
Right.
And I turned to my wife. I said, this is not going to be good. And I said to her what just had happened. And she says, well, what's the big deal? I said, just watch. Just watch. And, of course, leading up to the workout, you know, he had the quarter crack. So now, I mean the Belmont. Now we run the race, and it was tough. I mean, it was really, really tough, and it was tough from so many standpoints. It was tough from the horse, you know, thinking when he was pulled up that maybe he was injured. It was tough
Right.
because what could have been. It was tough because the horse is not going to be recognized like he would have been, and now he's going to be recognized for the flop and not the fame. And all that came into play, and it hurt for a week. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was what could have been. And then a week later, it was more like, who gets to do this? Who in
Right.
their life gets to do this? How many people get to see this? Who's going to feel bad for us? Who's going to feel
Right.
bad for me? I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. I want people to recognize how good this horse really was. And
Right.
don't feel bad for me, because my life is going on. And, you know, we made a great stallion deal for the horse, and he went on, you know, he's living a great life, and so are we. So yes, disappointing. And, you know, the funny part is, as tough as it was to lose the Belmont, having the horse scratched, I Want Revenge, the following year, as the Kentucky Derby favorite, being scratched the morning of the race, that was way harder. Because
Really?
that was much harder, because I felt that was the one race where I could relax and just enjoy the experience, because the Big Brown experience was a new experience. There was so much to it. There was so much pressure. And now I Want Revenge, the favorite, if he wins, who won the Derby 2 years in a row? If he loses, I won the Derby last year. I'm
Right.
going to enjoy this experience. So that night before that race, we went out crazy. I was in the strip club till 4 a.m. I went to sleep. I took a couple sleeping pills. I said, I'm not even going to the track until around 2. 7 o'clock in the morning, my phone's ringing in the hotel room, and it was the trainer telling us that the horse had been scratched.
Ouch.
You know, that was like, wait, am I still drinking? You know, that was a kick in the ass. That one hurt. That one, honestly, in the moment, stung more than the Belmont.
Wow. Interesting. If you had anything to do different with Big Brown, if you know everything you know now, years later, as we get older, we get wiser. Our parents get smarter. That's just how things are. If you had anything to do different with Big Brown, based on Michael, who you are today, is there anything you would have done differently?
Yes, definitely. The only thing I would have done different is we made a deal to retire him at the end of his 3-year-old season as part of the stud deal. I would never do that again.
All right.
Horses like that are once in a lifetime. They're literally a once in a lifetime. And to own a horse like that, to buy racehorses, I don't buy horses for stallions. I buy horses for the enjoyment of racing. And I made a mistake. I didn't understand the gravity of owning a horse at that level that early. I sold him before the Derby, his breeding rights before the Derby. I didn't understand what it's like to own a brilliant 4-year-old, and the races that and the trips and travel and everything else that goes in owning a horse like that. The stallion money would have always been there. So let's say instead of selling him for 60 million, he didn't have a great 4-year-old season, we sold him for 20.
Right.
The $40 million wouldn't have been, losing that $40 million wouldn't have compared to the enjoyment that we would have gotten out of experiencing a horse like that through the fruition of his racing career.
Right. No, I can definitely see that. A lot of people can't, but I can definitely see that side of it myself.
You know, the old saying in horse racing, you want to be you make me a millionaire, start with $1 billion, right?
Right. Exactly. Right.
It's fact. It's fact. You better enjoy it, because
right.
horses like that, they don't come around very often.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Now, let me ask you this. Back then, you look like a guy, you know, business guy, Wall Street type guy, Brooks Brothers, maybe a little Armani, but more of a Brooks Brothers kind of look.
Yeah.
That's not your look today. Today you're looking pretty sharp. You know, I got to say Brioni, maybe. I'm not sure. Canali, Brioni.
This is Taylor, custom made for me.
Okay. All right. My brother's like that. My brother has all the suits custom made. I get it. I get it.
Nice.
I get it. All right. But back then, a little bit of a different look. Today, I don't know if I want to say rock star or wrestler, or maybe both. What's with the transition?
It's a combination, I guess, between Macho Man Savage and I Don't Give a Shit, right?
Okay.
It's in the middle of that. Now,
Okay.
in all reality, look, we evolved, and I have a younger wife. My wife
Okay.
is 14 years younger than me. I still think age is a number,
Age is a number.
and I don't believe that, um, you know, as you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, as you get older, that you have to conform to what society believes that you should be. I don't believe that. I feel like you dress and you act how you feel. And how other people judge you, that's on them. If I
I,
feel good in my clothes, I feel good in my clothes. So my wife and I have a style that's probably different from most people my age. And if you like it, awesome. If you don't like it, awesome. I love it. It's my look. It's what I like now. And
Now, are you aware that you have taken the Special Eclipse Award for the best entourage away from MC Hammer, who had it for many, many years, but it has since been now given to Michael Iavarone and your entourage. Were you aware of that?
well, the bottom line is his entourage is no good. I mean, look at the girls we run around with. He runs around with a bunch of dudes. I don't run
That's
around with a
true.
bunch of dudes.
That's true. That's
I'd,
true.
I'd much rather run around with a bunch of fillies than a bunch of geldings.
That's true. Now, all right, I'll throw something. I have a Maserati. My license plate is P6K for Pick Six King. That's me.
Yes.
Can you beat it?
McLaren won the Derby license plates.
Ah, got you. You got me. Okay. But did you ever hit a pick six for 600,000?
No, I hit a pick five for 435, and then I won a sports bet for 160. So I beat you by like 5,000.
Can't beat this guy. I don't I don't understand.
But then I lost on the sports bet the day after. So we're not going to talk about it. We only talk about our winners. We never talk about the losers. 5,000
Right.
we don't talk about.
I understand. I tried to get a license plate. I bet on the Derby, but they wouldn't give it to me. They said it was too many digits.
So mine is the number one,
Right.
THEDRBY. I couldn't put the E in it. It was one too many. So it's number one, THEDRBY. Won the Derby. So I cannot tell you how many people pull me over and ask me what Derby.
Right.
And I tell them the Kentucky Derby. They say you're full of shit. I say you're probably right.
Yeah, no, I just got the license plate in the McLaren. I didn't win the Derby, but I'll let you know if people pull me over, because Michael is really a good guy. He's going to let me use the McLaren for about a month, and he doesn't even want to use the Maserati in exchange. He just said I could just take it for a month for having the show. That kind of guy. He's that kind of guy. Let me ask something. Back to serious talk. Racing has gone through so much, and there are so many issues in the sport. Where do you see racing heading? Do you think it's in as much trouble as a lot of people think it is? What are your thoughts on maybe making it better? Does it need more transparency, more fans? What is it? I mean, somebody like yourself is great to be out there front and center to attract new people to the game. We don't have enough people like you that bring that excitement to the game anymore, So what are some of your thoughts on the state of the sport today and where it needs to go?
So it's a tough integration. As far as the owners, and let's be realistic, the big owners are going to always be the big owners. And the big owners have created the super trainer.
Right.
And that model is making it incredibly difficult as a barrier entry for new owners. You want to compete at the best levels, but the best levels are absorbed by 0.05% of the owners in the game. And you have, Chad Brown, you have Baffert, you have Pletcher. If you look at their business models are they probably have this many owners, this many horses, compared to the lower angle trainers who have this many horses. Who have this many horses and this many owners, right? So the barrier of entry for the new owner is overwhelming and very, very tough to beat. And if you look at major sports, if you look at the National Hockey League, if you look at the NBA, the salary caps allow the smallest teams to compete with the biggest teams. If you look at Major League Baseball, there is no salary cap, so you're back in. So I compare baseball to horse racing. And until horse racing can figure out a way to lower the barrier of entry for the everyday owner, horse racing is going to continue to stay the way it is as far as owning and as far as that's concerned. As far as the sport and bringing in young people to enjoy the game from the betting standpoint, because let's face it, without betting, there's no horse racing. No matter how good the owners are, without the betting, there's no purses, there's no pool money, there's no racetracks. So what I feel is like the one track that is doing their best to try to go after that approach is the Stronach group, right? So Pimlico, it looked like pandemonium. They had the chain smokers in the infield. They had the DJs going. They had, 60, 50,000 kids in the middle. You never know from that group who the next, Claravit Stables is, who the next Mike Rapoli is. You never know who they are because they're always one day away from having something strike gold. So introducing them to the racetrack atmosphere, whether it's through a concert or whether it's through the Preakness, that's a positive step. And they have done a good job, with the Pegasus, with the Florida Derby. They understand now how you have to put on a little bit of a side event to attract them to the racetrack instead of just saying, hey, come watch the horse racing. So from that standpoint, they're trying their best to bring in the new class of human being. But let's face it, outside of the Kentucky Derby, outside of the Preakness, outside of the Belmont, most people in the regular world, they don't know a heck of a lot about horse racing. They don't know what the Metropolitan Mile is. They don't know what the Breeders' Cup Sprint is. It's Chinese to them. So racing will always be up against it as far as how to attract people that ordinarily don't gamble or people that ordinarily don't know what horse racing is. How do you get them to the racetrack? And I think Stronach is probably the only entity. And look, you could say good things about it, you can say bad things about it, but they are the only entity in my eyes that has really tried to bring in the new group or the younger foundation as far as introducing them to horse racing.
Yeah, I think they do think a little outside the box, and they do try. A lot of racing management, in my opinion, is just stuck in that one mindset and don't even really know who their customers are. They really don't.
And from the owner's standpoint, I'm telling you, this situation where you have these super owners with these super trainers is just making it so hard on everyone else. I really believe in my heart that they should have trainers have a limit of how many horses they can have for an individual owner. That would allow, a regular person that spends $300,000 at an auction who buys their first horse to have a shot. And if Chad Brown is only allowed to train 5 horses for Claravich or 3 horses for Claravich, and he has room for 400 horses, he's going to be able to train for other people. But the way it's working right now is these other people, they don't have a shot because they have to find a trainer that's going to be competitive against that level. And when you're trying to find a trainer that's going to be competitive at the level, there are so many other barriers. They got to get a jockey. So who is Irad Ortiz going to ride for? Is he going to ride for Chad Brown, or is he going to ride for, the trainer that has 3 horses at Tampa Downs?
Right. No, absolutely true. Only 2 people that put money into the game, or groups of people, I should say, are owners and bettors.
Yeah.
You're both, correct? You like to bet still?
I love to bet. I mean, look, betting, and again, it goes back to driving people to the racetrack. So when you bring in the 75,000 kids in the infield to the chain smokers, you hope that a few of those guys make a bet. And once they make a bet and they cash a ticket, wow, this is fun. And then you hope they come back to the track. I mean, I used to, bet the harness races, at Roosevelt Raceway when I was 17 years old. My father, he asked me to go with him one day. I had no interest. I said, what is this? Until I made a bet. And I said, let's try it again. And, now I've been betting for, 30 plus years. And there are very few weeks that go by where I'm not on my Twin Spires or my TVG account. So I'm always betting. I'm always watching the races. And my ownership is a direct derivative of my first wager.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear that. Best bet you ever made on a horse. Most satisfying win or biggest bet you ever made that you hit.
Pick five, Tampa Downs.
Tampa. Okay.
Pick five, Tampa Downs. A couple of years ago, we were going out that night. So I really liked the horse in one of the grass stakes. I figured the horse was going to be a long shot. And I knew that Got Stormy was running that day, and it was her first race back in about a year. And I said, you know, how fit can she be, and why are they running her at Tampa Downs? You know, this is a prep.
Right.
So I like two horses against her. So I used the two horses in that race. I used a single in that turf race, and I did alls with the other three legs. And she got beat. The horse paid $32. My horse that I liked in the grass stake, he won by a nose, wire to wire. He paid like $44. And then
Wow.
I caught a couple prices on the other two legs. And going into the last leg, we were getting ready to go out, and both of us, my wife and I, just got out of the shower, both naked watching the race, and we had half the field for half the pool, half the field for the whole pool.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah,
Especially naked. That's
yeah,
a better feeling naked.
naked, and it was literally like you win the Derby. You know, it's how many times can you say you won the pool in any bet?
Right.
And
Right.
it was winning the pool, which was the coolest part. And then
Yeah.
high five my wife naked.
Funny thing that you mentioned that. I'll be real quick because this is about you, not me. But when I hit my $600,000 pick six, article come out in the Racing Form the next day. Okay, I can't quote it exactly. It was a while ago, but off memory, there were two lucky people that hit the pick six at Saratoga yesterday. One is a known longtime player that plays all the time. The other is a waitress from a local restaurant who bet all her daughter's house numbers. And I'm like, you know, I don't begrudge anybody winning. But if I had to split the pool with somebody, why couldn't it be another bettor? It's got to be a waitress that comes that day, bets $8 on her daughter's house numbers, and takes half the $1.2 million pool.
100%. Actually, you know, it's so funny. When I won the pick five, the next day I was on the phone with my friend. And I said, you know, I just had a really strange thing just hit my head. I said, there was a 12-horse field in the last leg. We had 6 for the whole pool, 6 for half the pool. And we had literally the first 6 favorites was a split, and the 6 long shots were the whole pool. And I said, I feel great, but I feel shitty for the other person that had half the field,
right,
for half the pool with the half favorites, and he couldn't cash the damn ticket. I said, man, that probably hurt worse than the way I feel as far as happiness.
I hear you. Now, let me ask you, are you a superstitious guy? Do you watch races naked now because you hit that way?
Well, I try to do everything naked, especially with the wife. But nah, I think that's the only race we've ever watched naked. I could try it at the racetrack.
I don't know if you can pull that off. You can probably pull off a lot more than most. I don't know if you could pull that off.
I think
was gonna ask you,
my clothes on. She could stay naked.
do you think you can pull off with your current outfit the top hat at Royal Ascot?
Yeah. So hold that thought.
Go ahead.
1 second.
Oh, you're ready. Look at this. You're ready.
I am not putting this thing on because my hair's got gel in it, but I look like an idiot in this thing. An absolute moron. And she's gonna be dazzle this thing and get it all set up. And I played this top hat game at Ascot once before.
Right.
And it was ridiculous. And it's still ridiculous. I don't know. But the suit, it's gonna be sick.
Okay. So you're going to Ascot this year?
Yeah, we're going to Ascot. So
Okay.
yeah, so I have a horse that that he won the Lacken Stakes 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Impressive, very, very impressive. So we were like 40s on the future book for
Right.
the Commonwealth Cup, and after he won, he went straight down to 14s.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I think he's like third choice for the race. By the time the race goes off, he'll probably be the favorite. I'll be the really happy or really sad. But no, I plan to make a good wager. But I think the horse is a real shot. His His name's Twilight Jet. I brought him over for the Breeders' Cup. He just didn't
Right.
like the left turns and all that other good stuff. He was a 2-year-old, but he's really filled out. We were super patient with him. He's come into himself. His hind end is really exploded out. He really looks like a really, really good sprinter on the grass. He fits that perfect body shape for this kind of racing over there.
All right, I'm going to lose this one. I know for sure because I already saw a glimpse of it. But platinum Rolex, you got me beat. Platinum, it's platinum.
You tell me.
I can't beat this guy. I don't understand.
Oh.
I'm going to get you on something. I'm going to get you on something.
You've won already. You've won already.
I don't think so. But is this your first trip to Ascot, Mike?
No, so I was invited by Paul Shanahan at Coolmore, geez, about 2012, 2013, and that was an experience. I thought I was a big bettor. I am like I should have walked around with a binky in my mouth.
Really?
To those guys. Those guys at Coolmore made me look like a clown.
They
And
love to bet. I know
I
that.
bet. And I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
And everything is through the bookmakers there. You don't even have to leave your seat. They'll
Right.
take whatever you want, fixed odds, and you'll never scare them. That's for sure.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's
so
a
my days of
fascinating
thinking I
concept.
was a betting big shot were right down the drain when I was hanging out with those guys. That's a good group of guys. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, they really are. I had the pleasure of sitting right with them at the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, 2 or 3 years ago, I forget, just 2 or 3 years ago, recent one. And I was sitting right with all of them, and I saw they love to bet.
they love to bet, they love to drink, they love to have a good
Yeah.
time, but they are the shrewdest operators. They're great at what they do. They're fair. I mean, they dominate European racing, and
Yeah.
I have mad respect for those guys. We're not going to be. So we were invited to be with them in the Royal Enclosure, but
Right.
we're not going to be in the Royal Enclosure because the dress code will not allow us in there.
I understand. I know. I understand. And I'm big against dress codes at racetracks. I understand tradition. One of the things that annoys me most about Saratoga that I love is the jackets in those boxes. It's hot. I want to be comfortable when I'm
Yeah,
gambling.
agree.
You know what I mean?
Well,
I want to be comfortable.
the dress code in the Royal Enclosure was certain length dresses, nothing off the shoulder. And Jules says, I can't play that game. And then they said only black morning suit. I said, I can't play that game because I already have a custom navy blue. So we're going to be in the Queen Anne just because we can't conform to the.
Yeah, no, I'm not a dress code guy. I remember when I first moved to Florida, it was 1990, and you're familiar with Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Back then,
I just bought a place down there.
okay, back then there was a store on Federal Highway called the Auto Toy Store. Okay, had all kinds of vintage Ferraris in there. So I'm in Florida literally 2 days. I spot this place. I'm driving around. I'm in shorts, deck sneakers, and a tank top coming from the beach.
Yeah.
I see this place. I'm like, I gotta go in there, So I parked the car right on Federal Highway. We're not even allowed to park. Brooklyn, you still don't know no better when you first move down here. I go to walk in. The guy stops me at the door. He goes, "I'm sorry." He looks at the way I'm doing. He goes, "Do you have an appointment?" I'm like, "No, dude, I got a checkbook."
Yeah.
Oh, come on in. You're welcome. Oh, what can we show you? So
I went to
I'm not a dress code guy.
I went to Restoration Hardware in Palm Beach. Beautiful. And we had just gotten out of the gym. So we just bought a place, by the way, down in Florida. So we do half and half. So we actually bought in Palm Meadows Estates on the Palm Meadows racecourse grounds. We bought a brand new house there. So we went to Restoration Hardware. I wanted some outside stuff. I walked in there with shorts, t-shirt on. I could not get somebody to come over to me if I literally roped a chain around their neck. They did not even know I existed. Finally, I said, I've been here a half hour. Can somebody at least even give me a second?
Right.
But during that half hour, I already saw what I wanted. So they send over some woman to me. She tells me it's her first day on the job. She doesn't even know how to work the system. I said, perfect. I bought everything. The woman that walked past me like I was an idiot, she was a senior girl there. She was sick because she blew all the commission.
Right.
Never, ever, ever judge anybody by what they're wearing.
100%.
Judge it by what they're betting.
100%. 100%. And what's inside, like you said in the beginning, because that's what really counts.
Everything.
And I'm glad you said that, man. I really am. You've won races all over the world. Okay, the Derby being the penultimate, but you also won a Breeders' Cup. Court Vision, I know, won a Breeders' Cup early in your career.
Actually, 6 Breeders' Cup win.
You beat me that day. Tour of Law, I had for a lot of money.
I still don't know how that. To this day, I have no idea how he won that photo.
I don't either. I needed Tour of Law.
It wasn't even a bob. He was a
I don't
full
understand.
neck behind. It was the craziest bob I've ever seen.
It
was
was.
like a full neck at the wire.
I was sure I won the race. I was sure I'd be. I was absolutely sure. But that was a great win. So when you win at that level, okay, and this I think is an interesting question. I know the Derby is the Derby, but the Breeders' Cup is more of a worldwide type of event with different types. Can you differentiate a little of that for me? Like what winning at Ascot, winning a Breeders' Cup, winning the Derby, is the Derby that really just the ticket because it's the Derby, or once you're at that level, it's all just unbelievable?
So, I mean, obviously, the most exhilarating would be the Kentucky Derby because there's nothing. It's the pinnacle, right? So that would be number one. But strangely enough, so we've won 6 Breeders' Cup races. We've probably won 7 or 8 Grade 1s at Keeneland. We've kind of won everywhere, right? We won in Dubai with Benny the Bull.
Right.
But strangely enough, behind Big Brown, the only time I was ever brought to tears, and I've seen other people, that it's happened to other people, it never had happened to me. So my wife and I, my new wife, Jules, first horse we ever bought together, was a gelding on the grass, and we paid like 180,000 for him. We gave him, Nick Salusta did all my bloodstock work back there. His father loved racing, wanted to train, didn't have any horses. So I said, you know what, train this horse. He gave this horse his all, literally everything. First time he ran the horse, he got beat like a pole in an allowance race at Monmouth. And I was like, well, that didn't work out too well. He came back, he said, you know, I think there's something going on in the horse's ankle. So they took an x-ray, they found a little bone spur in his ankle. So he says, you know, I think we should give the horse time, take it out, make him. I said, whatever, Justin, whatever you want to do, it's fine. You know, if that's what the horse needs, I'm never thinking this horse is going to be any good. So he comes back 6 months later, and I'm in Saratoga. I'm playing golf, and I'm in Lake George. I'm up in Saratoga. I'm playing golf in Lake George. There's no signal. My wife and I are playing. That horse was entered to run at Monmouth. He was entered to run in a race against the guy that worked for me that was building the horse hospital that we were building at the time. And he says, our horses are running against each other in a allowance race. I said, don't worry about my horse. My horse can't win. He goes,
right.
He goes, my horse can't win either, so we should just bet an exacta box. I said, yeah, maybe for last and second to last, you know? So anyway, I didn't do anything. I didn't even think about it. So we played golf and no phone service. I get to my car after the round, my phone is blown up. And he says, I told you, and that's all I saw. And I clicked on the results. And this horse, our horse won at like 42 to 1. His horse was second at 80 to 1. The exact was 3,500 for 2.
Wow.
I didn't have anything. He killed it. I had nothing. Anyway, the horse off of that race goes and now becomes a grass horse. He goes on and he wins the Gulfstream Park Handicap, Grade 1, at 35 to 1. And in that race after that, I had I Want Revenge running in the, at the time it was the Don Handicap. So I had a $500 double straight on those two. I would have taken the racetrack. It was so ridiculous. And then I Want Revenge was 5 to 1. He gets nailed at the wire. I miss it. So the trainer says, we're going to bring the horse back to Monmouth and we're going to run in a race called the United Nations. And growing up, that race was always something I loved. I don't know why it was on the
big race back then, right? It was
like I loved the United Nations. So I said, we got to go. Anyway, the horse was like 7 to 1 in the race. He wins the United Nations, and I don't know what it was. It overwhelmed me.
You're talking about Teeks North, right?
Teeks North.
Yeah.
It overwhelmed me.
I go back a long way with Justin, so I know we've talked about that. Yeah.
That's amazing. It blew my mind. And it was a horse, that I never had expectations. I gave it to my wife. She made her own silks. And she said, whatever winnings this horse does, I'm going to build a non-for-profit yoga studio with it.
Wow.
And she did. It was so cool. And anyway, what brought me to tears, I'm walking down to the winner's circle and I see Justin. He's on his knees in the winner's circle. And this is him in the winner. And that was it.
Yeah, no,
I didn't even notice it was left.
that's a really cool story, and I go back a long way with Justin, and that was his biggest win, obviously.
It's insane.
That-
So what I've learned is it's not just the race, it's the people you're with, it's the moments, it's the events. And
Right.
and I can promise you, if we win at Royal Ascot, that's gonna be like right there with the Derby. I mean, that's gonna be, I mean, that's just whoever gets to win a Royal Ascot.
Yeah, no, Royal Ascot, absolutely. That's a special thing. Last question, and then I'll let you go. Because I know you're pressed for time, and I appreciate your time, Mike, and you've been great. But last question. When Big Brown lost to Belmont, how frustrating was it, or is it? And I don't consider myself a media guy. I'm just a gambler that happens to have a show and write a column. You know what I mean? I don't consider myself a media guy. And I would never do some of the things that I see media do. But is it frustrating? Like, how annoying is it? You just lost a race like that when you were alive for a Triple Crown, and you got media people coming up to you, asking you silly questions, dumb questions, annoying questions, questions that, you know, you might not want to be asked at that moment. I mean, I get maybe it's their job or whatnot, but how frustrating is that? What's that whole dynamic like?
So one of the best parts about that experience was you always think you're on top of the world, but you're always a step away from
That's
being on the
right.
bottom,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And when the Triple Crown was going on, the media was building you up and building you up and building you up. And let's face it, 90% of the population, they don't want to read the good story. They want to read the bad story. They don't want to read the happy couple. They want to read the cheating couple, you know?
Right.
And so I didn't realize what was really happening. And the media was working on this monumental story in their minds that I was this big stock fraud guy. When, you know, in 1992, I had been at a broker dealer, and a client had invested $7,500 and said he didn't do that trade, which, you know, in the securities world is the legitimate of a parking ticket, right? But they made this out like this was some monumental scandal, which is fine, right? But what I learned through the whole thing is it's super, super important to live the moment within you and not let the surround noise suck that out of you. And perfect example, if you look at every single Triple Crown case, okay, look at all of them, look at their stories. So you look at Zayat, right? Zayat owned probably the greatest horse that we've seen in, you know, decades and decades, and they turned this story to shit. Look
Right.
at the Mind That Bird story, and they turned that story to shit. Look at the Word Derby winner the other day, right? What happens is they interview the trainer, how amazing the horse is, amazing, I'm biggest upset, and then they put him on ESPN. Well, there's a story out that you tweeted about Kamala Harris.
Right.
And can you talk to us about your racism or your womanizing? And that's their job. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter who you are, in a world of digitization that exists right now, there's something on everybody. I don't care who it is. There's no living angel that exists in this world that doesn't have something that digitization can't pull up. And, you know, whether it's a divorce, whether it's, you name it, there's
I
something.
know. I've been through it. I know.
And what you have to do, is you have to say to yourself, my skin is thick enough where I understand what they're doing. And that's what they choose to do for a living. That's not what I would do. That's not how I would choose my life, but that's their life. And some of them, they do it because they get a paycheck. Others, they do it because they get a rise. And the more fodder that you give them, the happier they are and the harder they go. And if they see that you're thick and they're going to ask you tough questions and you answer them and you move forward, they're not going to answer them again. It's when you hide from them is when they keep drilling you. So if I should be back in that situation again, I'd be the better for it, because I've learned so much about it. And I've gotten to the point in my life, I truly don't care. I really, really don't care if people like me, don't like me, as long as I can look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm doing things right or treating people the way they deserve to be treated. I only have to answer to myself and the man above. Everybody else.
Well said, man. Well said. I mirror that exactly the way that you said it. Only two opinions count: the one looking back in the mirror and the one upstairs, and that's it.
And at the end of the day, they're one and the same, because you can't lie to him.
No.
You know, you could lie to yourself, but you can't lie to him. So,
Absolutely.
so at the end of the day, I don't regret any of it. I understand why they do it. They will continue to do it. History has shown to me that it wasn't me, it was everyone. So it is what it is, and I'm smarter for it.
No, absolutely, man. Hey, I so appreciate your time, and you are a rock star, man. You don't
Thank you.
dress the part. You are a rock star, man. You're good for the sport. You're a gentleman, and I wish you the best in the future. I wish you the best at Ascot. I want you to come back on the show after Ascot, especially if you win. And I give you my word as a gentleman.
We'll party it up.
I will take care of the Bugatti while you are away. I'm going to make sure it comes back to you washed, no scratch, no dings, nothing.
We win at Ascot, I might not come back.
then I keep the car.
Perfect. Thank God.
All right, my brother. Absolutely, man. Hey, you be well. Safe travels, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll shut this off. We'll say goodbye real quick, and I'll let you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
To the best and hope for the best.
Vekoma broke well on the outside, and
but you don't expect to get speed like this.
Outside, Vekoma continues to battle on down in the rail. It is Vekoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
Nobody does it better.